Hello friends, I'm so happy to see you. Whether you're a new friend or an old friend, thank you for taking some time out of your day to spend some time on my channel. My name is Luciano, and today we're going to be taking a look at a choose-your-own-adventure named A Wizard's Keychains. Killer choose-your-own-adventure was made by someone named Lord Sir C, and it is a fairly simple choose your own adventure, but the potential that it has as a storytelling device is incredible. This is a choose your own adventure that actually does have a jump dock associated with it, but we are not going to be taking a look at the jump dock today. I simply wanted to show you all the source material and take this time to have a nice, fun little chat with my friends. This particular choose your own adventure is actually quite simple, and the choosing aspect of it can be done in a matter of moments when someone has all of the options known to them. But the background is simple. You, the player character, save a wizard's life, and in gratitude he offers you 2 keychains from his collection. It's worth noting that, as befitting his status as a wizard, these are not ordinary keychains. These keychains will allow you to go to other worlds, and the other worlds have special magic associated with each of them. It's also worth noting that while normally you could make 2 choices and select 2 keychains, there is a special wooden box that you could choose that inside of it has a unique keychain, and that particular keychain costs both of your choices, but it is very powerful and it's very unique. We will be talking about all of the keychains and what they offer you, as well as the worlds that they go to, in just a moment. Part of the video where you get to listen to Luciano try to pronounce fantasy names, and maybe even someday we might learn from the actual creator what the intended pronunciation of each of these are. But for right now, of the ordinary keychains, there is Cal Wildness, Matahini, The Orchard, The Delve, Soktash Mall, No Name Alley, Scriptorium Vadis, Lot Number 9, Me, Jira, Mistos, Microcosmos, Ragno Apocalypse, and the Mystery Box. You can see we are moving right along. We are now in the intro section for the very first world that someone could potentially choose if they choose the first of the 10 standard keychains. Each one of these sections, including the section for the mystery box, which will be noted in the chapter list so that way anyone who doesn't want to get spoiled on it can actually just go into this choose your own adventure with fresh eyes and see it for themselves, has 4 sections. It has a near section, which notes an area of relative safety and comfort, as well as a base for you to operate out of, a far section, which begins to reveal some of the scope of the world and begins to reveal, in most cases, some of the magic that is evident here, and then a beyond section, which notes the furthest most and the most wild dangers and regions of the world in question. Each one of these sections is unique, and they all offer different things that could be of interest to different players. This very much is a choose your own adventure type of choose your own adventure. The choices that you make are important, but they only broadly define the scope of the adventure that you're going to have. The 4th section is a little bit more special, and it begins to hint at some of the qualities of the magic that you will gain by choosing that particular keychain and by actually exploring and bravely delving into the depths of the world that you have chosen to visit. It's also worth noting that you can go back to Earth at any time so long as you have your keychain and you are ready to return. So while there's dangers in these worlds, and some worlds are decidedly more dangerous than others, there is also lots of opportunity, and once you go, it is not a one-way trip. Now that we've gotten that little bit of context and intro out of the way, we can begin to have a conversation about Celt Wildness. Celt Wildness is a wintry wonderland that begins in a safe, temperate, very relaxed ski lodge based at the foot of a mountain. It has all of the things that you would expect a ski lodge to have, as well as a lift that would allow someone to go further up the mountain and thus have a chance to come sledding or snowboarding down, and is a chill, relatively speaking, safe little zone, at least in its near section. Once you go a little bit further beyond that, you will start to see villages as well as forests. The forests are inhabited by fairly mundane animals, and occasionally you can find stranger things. It's also worth noting that the villages are inhabited by either humans or human-like creatures that do their very best to eke out a living in the inhospitable conditions that they live in. But so far, this is still an area that is fairly mundane, although over here you will start to see villagers who know a little bit about the runic magic of this world and they can teach you the very basic runes. In order for you to begin to master this place's magic, just like is the case with all of the other worlds, you have to go to the Beyond section. The Beyond section is a region of untamed wilderness and also the eerie ruins of ancient civilizations that have been lost to the ages. Over here, you'll start to find spirits and supernatural creatures, as well as all sorts of things that might engage any casual adventurer, any person who wants to go out and discover ancient wintry magics. The specific magic of this particular world is a sort of rune script. These are symbols of power that, when etched or painted or otherwise carved into something, can cause unique effects. The villagers will be more than happy to teach you some of these runes, at least those that they know, once you have proven yourself to be a friend to them. But in order for you to discover the most potent magics, you will have to actually go out into the wilderness, and you'll have to brave the elements in order for you to become a true sage and a master of the ancient magics that very possibly once ruined this planet. If you are rather reasonably not a fan of the cold, and especially not a fan of the extreme cold, allow me to encourage you to consider Matahini. Matahini is a tropical paradise that is located in a verdant, endless sea, and it is a network of islands and other stranger tropical biomes that someone can visit, and in the near region, they will, instead of getting a fairly nice, modest ski cabin, they will have a beautiful beach cabin, and it is one of several that is spread along the shoreline of a tropical island. Each one of these cabins has a small kitchen that's stocked with food, and of course the island itself is a known and loving provider of food. There are all sorts of small, cute animals here, and while rain will occasionally blow through, it is a nice rain rather than a destructive, fierce one. Once you start to go a little bit further out, if you take off on one of the boats, you will be able to find a tropical network of islands. Now, navigating this region will not be easy in the beginning, but over time and as you start to meet some of the villagers who are native to this region, you will start to get both more experience doing this, and you will also start to make more friends who are more than willing to provide you with maps so long as you are kind to them. But it's worth noting that not all islands are safe. There are going to be snakes and other animals on the islands and out in the water between the islands. You will also be able to find various objects of supernatural significance, though there is a thematic tying back to the sea in summer. It is once you start to delve into the wilder regions that you begin to see stranger phenomenon. Stranger phenomenon such as floating islands, water sprouts that can throw your boat up into the sea serpents and other supernatural creatures that may be friendly and more often than not probably won't be. But as you continue to explore these oceans and as you continue to go beyond the areas where many of the locals are familiar and are willing to travel, you're going to start to hear and see things. That is this particular world's unique form of magic. This particular world will offer you a potent form of spiritual magic that allows you to realize that many objects and natural phenomenon have spirits that are attuned to them as sorts of avatars. You can converse with these spirits once you've started to master this magic enough, and you can befriend them, and in exchange they will offer you some degree of their power. And as you start to get stronger, you can start to make all sorts of fascinating deals with these types of entities that will give you more of their powers and will allow you to form symbolic connections with them. This form of magic is very character driven, and truly mastering it will require a certain type of charisma and force of personality. Rather than exploring a tropical or wintry paradise, you feel like you would rather explore something that is a bit more temperate and a bit more tree-oriented, allow me to encourage you to consider the orchard. The orchard is a world of forests, jungles, orchards, and groves. And the near region, the region that you will step through when you first enter this world, brings you into a massive treehouse set amongst a network of branches of a gigantic tree. The treehouse is split into a few different levels, and there are all sorts of delicious looking apples and other fruits for you to find, both in the tree and in the area directly surrounding it. Once you have started to move a little bit further out beyond your initial set of orchards and your initial set of groves, you will start to find other orchards and groves that are close to your particular region. This place has friendly travelers and friendly wanderers that you could interact with that will begin to teach you some of the effects of the various fruits that you could find here. Some of the fruits will taste like earthly fruits, and others will taste like nothing you could have imagined a fruit tasting like. Once you go into the beyond region, things start to get a little bit stranger. You will start to enter more wild jungles and forests, and you will start to see strangers who will not approach you and who will often flee when they first see you, at least until you find ways to interact with them a little bit less directly and slowly earn their trust by doing that. Some of these creatures will be made of living wood, and others will appear to be living fruits. All sorts of creatures could be found in this particular region, and those of them that are friendly or that can be cowed will happily teach you some of the rather fascinating magic that this world has to offer. This world's form of magic is known as alchemixture, and it involves cooking food in a range of ways, as well as harvesting and growing food in a range of ways that will confer special effects to the people who eat them. This is definitely a unique form of magic. It is something that is very preparation heavy, but once it has been mastered, you can use alchemixture to create all sorts of concoctions that can confer a truly bizarre range of effects on people who are willing to eat them. The next world that we're going to be talking about is the Delve. This is a world that is located beneath the surface of some region. It is a world of massive caverns and of elemental walls of earth. The region that you first step into in this particular world is a region that will be your home base. It is a stone building that you can live in. The building itself is comfortable, but it is not especially luxuriously furnished. You'll find yourself in a massive stone cavern once you leave this cave, and both the cave and the building are lit by subtly placed electric lights, which will naturally reflect off of the stalactites and stalagmites. And you can explore this region to find all sorts of gems and all sorts of rocks that may be worth quite a lot if you're willing to look into them and figure out ways to harvest them effectively and safely. Once you go a little bit further, you're going to find yourself in a maze of twisting passages that will occasionally open out into massive gemstone pits and huge underground lakes. The electric lights that you have grown comfortable with at this point will gradually peter out, and instead the light source will be strange glowing lights that dance in the air, as well as massive mushrooms that cling to the rocks themselves. All sorts of gemstones can be found here and throughout the cave, and you will occasionally begin to see both natural creatures such as bats and other cave-dwelling animals, and figures that you're not quite sure, but you seem to think are made of rocks and gemstones themselves. Once you explore further out beyond this region, you will eventually start to find the outskirts of massive civilizations that are inhabited and run by creatures that are made of gemstones and rocks. Some of these creatures will look almost human, while others will take on more abstract or terrifying shapes. It is not going to be easy to communicate with at least some of these creatures, and their cultures will certainly seem strange to you, but if you want to truly master the gemstone-based magic of this particular world, you are going to need to find ways to communicate, and you're going to need to find ways to get along with these different civilizations, as these civilizations are the hoarders and the storage houses of the most powerful gemstones, which form the cornerstone of this particular world's magic. This particular world's magic is known as crystal attunement, and crystal attunement refers to the ability to awaken the power and energy within a stone and allow you to use it in a range of ways. At first, the simplest forms of the magic that this will manifest as will be things like allowing it to orbit around you and allowing it to give you the energy needed for elemental bursts or simple magic. But once you have figured out the ways to communicate and interact with the gemstone civilizations that are located in this world, they will begin to teach you more advanced forms of magic and will eventually teach you all sorts of esoteric and arcane mystical arts. Few keychains have offered you access to places that at least vaguely resemble some possible conception of worlds. This particular keychain, the Soktash Mall keychain, offers you the ability to access a stranger setting. Instead of allowing you to visit a place that could arguably be conceived as some type of world, this will allow you to enter a massive mall which gradually extends into a region of different types of marketplaces and bazaars. The near region of the Soktash Mall is an area that is a simple, ordinary seeming for the most part shopping mall. Rather than giving you a base, this is simply a place where you can enter where, assuming that you don't do anything fairly foolish, you will probably be reasonably safe here, and you can buy all sorts of things that you could feasibly buy in an earthly mall. At least that's the near region. Once you start to go a little bit further beyond, you're going to enter an occasionally abandoned liminal space seeming region of twisting hallways that open up into large regions containing many different shops. Some of these halls will become more opulent, while others will become darker and stranger, and the shops will reflect the area of hallways that allow you to enter them. You will also start to notice something a little bit stranger here. Some of the shopkeepers and even some of the shoppers themselves will begin to look a little bit strange compared to humans from the earth that you are used to. They will have odd hair colors, glowing eyes, possibly extra limbs, maybe even speak in languages that you know a human should not be able to speak. And of course, as you enter this particular region, the objects that you find will become a little bit odder as well. Once you've hit the beyond region, you will start to find large bazaars and large areas of open door and open sky shopping that people can do. Each one of these places is overseen by supernatural looking beasts and guards which match the overall aesthetic of whatever region that you are in. You will also start to eventually meet the overlords of this place. These are bizarre creatures who have mastered the power of the shopping and mercantile-based magic that this particular world has to offer. These creatures will invite you into their homes, but they'll be looking to make deals with you, and if they do, they will always be sure to try and get more than they give. The magic that this world offers is known as give and take. This particular form of magic is a very fascinating form of magic that allows someone to learn sort of economic and capitalistic principles and figure out how to turn those into actual power. This is a little bit of a more difficult form of magic to wrap your mind around, but essentially what this does is it takes the art of the deal and turns it into a true magical power. There's a lot of potential here, but of course mastering it is difficult because even the simplest transactions in this form of magic always come at a cost of some sort. I've seen a number of different environments, but none of them have been fairly modern urban metropolises. That changes with this particular world. Welcome to No Name Alley. When you first enter this particular world, you will enter a dank and smelly alleyway. You'll notice that a smog is in the air in front and around you, but it doesn't cause you any problems breathing. It just is inconvenience, and it's something that is difficult to ignore. This particular alleyway is filled with various bits of trash, but if you're lucky and you keep your eyes out, you might notice something of value somewhere in the trash bins. This is a modern seeming world, and as you begin to explore this region, you will notice that there are graffiti marks all along the walls. If you study them carefully, you'll begin to notice some sort of message, which could be relevant to your life back on Earth. Once you start to exit the alleyway, and once you start to actually try to explore the city that you're in, you're going to find a thriving metropolis city. It is something that is surprisingly modern compared to most of the other worlds that you have seen so far, and it's something that will surely thrill people who miss modern luxuries and who want to explore just a different planet filled with humans and human-like beings. It's worth noting that as you start to go out into the city, you will quickly realize that this is not an infinite city. This city is just one city of many. It is but one part of a fully living, breathing world. And if you decide to go into the living, breathing world beyond the city, you will reach the beyond region. If you exit the city, you're going to find yourself out on a highway, and you're going to find yourself able to go to different towns and different regions that are filled with fully human beings and creatures that are very decidedly not human. There's lots of mysteries here for someone who is clever and brave to go and try and find, but what you do in this world is up to you. If you wanted to live in just another city, if you wanted to give life somewhere else another go, but you didn't have the means to save up, this might be perfect for you. The form of magic that this world chooses, and the form of magic that this world offers you, is the power of the circle, the dot, and the line. And these are very interesting forms of magic that once you weave them into something, or even once you've grown powerful enough, weave them into the air and use your will to bring about, will have a variety of physical effects on the things that you put them on. If you put a line on a bat, you will be able to increase the kinetic force that the bat provides with each swing. If you put the right sort of symbol on a door, you can bar it from being opened from the outside. This is a powerful form of physical magic that is a little bit tricky to truly master, but once you've started down the road to exploration and mastery, you'll be able to do a lot with this form of magic in a purely physical sense. This sort of magic may not give you the ability to shoot fireballs, but in terms of physicality and physics and kinetics, this is one of the most direct forms of magic that this particular Choose Your Own Adventure offers. The next world is the Scriptorium Vatis, and the Scriptorium Vatis is another world that is a bit like the mall that we were just at a few minutes ago, and it is a world that is one particular type of setting in an infinite amount. In this particular case, it's a library, or rather a collection of books. Welcome to the Scriptorium Vatis. The very first section of this world that you are going to explore is a fairly mundane seeming library. There are books filed neatly on shelves, all sorts of titles are on display, and if you look carefully you can find almost any book you could expect to find in a library on Earth. There's even other readers and other librarians, all of whom are willing to help you provided you do not overly disturb their studies or do anything that would be dangerous to the library. The books here are all in excellent condition, but sadly, if you want to figure out the secrets to this particular world's magic, you're going to need to be braver than just sitting in a library and reading to your heart's content. In order to discover the barest hints of this world's magic, you need to go further, and once you have left the safety of your library, you're going to find yourself in an endless array of different libraries. Over here, you're going to start to begin to find some of the stranger elements. As you notice the patrons that visit these libraries and that study the stacks of books that this place can offer, you're going to start to notice some of them look a little bit strange. I would advise you to not say anything to them. They consider it quite rude. Once you have looked at them, you'll start to notice that their skin has the texture of parchment, and that words seem to dance along their skin, moving freely. You'll also start to find strange books here that tell you about how to be genre savvy and teach you how to look for hints of the future. Once you go into the beyond region of this particular world, you are going to find a strange, eldritch landscape where words and pictures drop out of their pages and form illusions that seem realer than real. You're also going to find living, animated books and all sorts of other literary phenomena on full display. It is over here that you will start to learn the truest magic that this world has to offer. This particular form of magic is known as editoria. And editoria is a sort of supernatural genre savviness that in the beginning can be used to predict the future, but over time becomes something stronger and stranger than that. Over time, a master of editoria begins to gain the ability to alter the future. They begin to be able to see the world around them, both where they are in this moment and also the distant future, depending on their skill in the art, in the form of books and letters and words, rather than with their physical mundane senses. You begin to be able to gain a lot of these abilities as you boldly venture into the more strange and more dangerous regions of the scriptorium, but truly mastering this art will certainly take time. It will take patience, and it is something that will never be easy, but you will, with time and energy spent learning this art, be able to do things as radical as changing the genre of whatever scene you are in the middle of witnessing. If you are seeing something that is destined to be a drama, with enough time and energy and enough will, you can change it into a comedy. You can change it into an action. And the power that comes with that is not to be understated. The next world that we will be visiting is Lot Number 9. Lot Number 9 is a world made up of movie sets. It's a world made up of Hollywood stars and starlets, and the characters that they portray. The near region is a mundane movie lot that you can visit, where people seem mostly aware that they are in a movie and where things seem fairly tame. One of the oddities of this is that the actors and the characters and the directors and the stage crew are not particularly opposed to you joining in as an extra for a couple of takes, but they do tell you that eventually they'll have to get back to proper filming. And you'll notice, once you visit it a few times, that the movie that is set up here will change every time you visit. And, on occasion, you'll be able to find yourself in a version of a scene from a movie that you are personally looking forward to watching back on Earth. Once you go a little bit further beyond, you will start to see stranger things. You'll start to see actors that seem a little bit too in character. You'll start to see impossible stunts, but only ones that are only loosely impossible. In order for you to see the real stuff, you need to go further than this. Once you've gone beyond the areas that are in your immediate vicinity. You will start to find yourself in lots that are more than lots, but rather lots that seem to be located in different worlds and in different realities. You'll start to find different actors that really and truly embody their characters. And, very importantly, you will find objects that seem to take on the properties that they are supposed to have in the narratives of their movies. If you come across a toy sword that someone says is a lightsaber, and you go far enough beyond your initial home set, you will find that it becomes a lightsaber. It's the same thing with a well-polished and well-maintained stick. If it's said to be a wand, it'll become a wand. The magic that is here is known as legend smithing, and it allows these sorts of myths that are at play in this world and the sorts of ideas that are in objects, the sort of suspension of disbelief that allow objects to be the props that they are said to be. It will make them truly the things that you want them to be. If you find a sword, you can truly make it Excalibur once you've mastered this particular magic to a high enough extent. Mastering this magic is difficult, but it's not without its rewards. With it, you can make the Philosopher's Stone out of a pebble that you find. You can turn an hourglass into a symbolic and potent weapon. If you find the right sort of object, you can create a lightsaber. All of that and more is up to you if you are willing to put in the time and energy needed to truly master this form of magic. First, step through a door with the keychain to Maijira Maestos in hand and activated. You will be surprised to find yourself in a nostalgic neighborhood. When you go into the nearest house to you, you will find an exact replica of your childhood home. You'll find furnishings and objects that match your memories, and even healthy versions of beloved pets. Resting in this particular world is especially useful and restorative, and you'll also find that the mist can be manipulated in various esoteric ways that allow you to perform the simplest feats that you would think would be possible in a dreaming fantasy. And of course, if you try to take the mist itself with you, it will not work back in your mundane world. But that's why you gotta explore this place. Once you have walked out of the neighborhood that you first walked in to this world in, you will find different neighborhoods filled with different houses, and the different houses are attuned to people from the real world, from your Earth. And by visiting the houses, you can visit the dreams of your neighbors and friends. You can intervene, or you can pretend to be a character in these dreams, and you can act subtly. But when you begin to travel further, you're going to come across strange monsters lurking in the liminal spaces between neighborhoods. Those creatures are dangerous beasts, many of whom are hostile, and they'll seek to twist and distort and alter the dreams of your friends, or of you if you are unlucky enough. But thankfully, this close to your personal dream, you are empowered, and you are able to drive them off fairly simply for the most part. The real dangers here hide and wait for the people who have traveled out far beyond the region that they are native to. You're going to start to become aware that you are in larger and larger areas of shared dreaming realities. And the dreamers here will be less distinct, but the monsters that are hiding in between the realities are themselves stronger. And while it's true that there are creatures here who will seek to spread hope and cheer, there are many who will be born of nightmares and terrifying dreamscapes that want to take and harm people. It is up to you and occasionally other powerful dreamers to find ways to work with friendly monsters and to defeat hostile ones. Thankfully, you have magic on your side. The magic of this particular world are totems. And totems are formed from mists. They form fetishistic artifacts that can be used in a wide range of different ways. And the wide range of different ways that they can be used are based off of their shapes and the intent that you had and you were filled with when you were creating them. Creating stronger totems is difficult, but it's well worth it. Stronger totems can take on different aspects and can be tied to different real-world ideas, whether it is fear or pain or anger or strength, and usage of these totems will turn you into a stronger, more varied fighter, and will also give you an array of neat abilities. The next world that we're going to is Microsmos, and this is a world that will feel larger than life. When you first enter it, you will find yourself in a cavernous and strangely familiar room. It seems like you are in the living room of a house that is strangely like a house you have lived in. But you'll notice something right away. You yourself have been shrunken down to a truly remarkable extent. You are an incredibly small being in this world. And unfortunately, you're going to quickly discover that not every being in this world is tiny. But for right now, you are safe in the near region. You are able to explore this house, and you will realize that your abilities here feel different. Your proportions here feel different. You are still as strong as you would be proportionate to your size. You are still able to run around as freely as you can, but of course, distance takes on a whole new meaning here. Once you go into the far region, you are going to start to discover other living beings. Some of them will be creatures that are your size, both ordinary insects and humans and human-like beings that live in the larger dwellings and have wildly different civilizations because of it, but you will also find larger beings. You will find mundane-sized humans that still exist in this world and that still modify it and that still create technology. Some of those creatures will notice you, but thankfully, many will be oblivious to you. Once you start to delve even further into this world, you will go into different environments. You'll find cities and other sorts of structures, social and otherwise, that are all inhabited by both large and small beings. You'll find more dangers, and you'll realize that things that may seem safe to you, such as rain or even liquid soap, are enormously dangerous to creatures that live in this world. At least the regularly proportioned rains and liquid soap are. There are, of course, smaller versions that are perfectly safe and perfectly fine for you to use, and the creatures that live in this world will have already realized that and will have invented many things that make it possible for them to take advantage of larger objects in a range of different ways. But you still need to be careful. This is still a whole new world, and it's still dangerous. The magic of this particular world is the principle of expanding the small. This is an art that allows you to take ordinary objects and expand them conceptually to allow for unique effects. If you have the tiniest sliver of soap, you can expand that and you can transform it into holy magic. If you have a match, that can be transformed into a staff that expands the power of any pyrotechnics and any pyrokinetics. Those living close to your house will have the simplest understanding of this, but in order to truly master it, you're going to have to travel to unique and distant environments, whether it is a civilization located inside of a sliver of grass, or people who've managed to find a way to live inside of a shoe. All sorts of people here have knowledge of powerful mystical arts and are more than willing to teach you so long as you prove yourself to be friendly and an able student. In the final of the ordinary keychain worlds, Ragnokolopolis. I did not say that correctly, it's fine. In the near region of this world, you will find yourself emerging just outside of a tiny hut that sits near a well and a beautiful grove of trees. This area is curiously calm, and if you never explore further than this region, you will never know of the true ordeal that this world offers any adventurer who is brave enough to come here. But there's a bit of foreshadowing in the form of a remnant of a battlefield nearby and a truly massive armory of weapons that are waiting and willing to be collected. Thankfully, this area is an area of peace. That said, if you choose to venture further beyond, you will need to grab a weapon, or you will need to have fists of steel. Once you go into the far region, you will find yourself in an array of battlefields. Massive armies approach each other and will compete to the death in traditional battles of all sorts, and you yourself will undoubtedly be involved in some of these battles if you spend any decent amount of time in this region. It is worth noting that perishing in these battlefields will be traumatic and it will be harmful, but it is not permanent. If you fall in combat here, you will find yourself waking up next to the well in your glade, and you will be calm, hale, and healthy once you've had time to recover your wits. And you'll be able to go back to the battlefields and continue engaging in the various efforts that you are attempting to engage in. You will have endless opportunities to master your body, and over time you will begin to feel the effects of this particular world's magic. But its true nature will not become clear to any but the most clever unless you go to the Beyond region. Once you have managed to win, or at least survive, multiple battles and multiple campaigns in this region, you will begin to explore more and more, and you'll eventually come to the edges of massive fields, forests, and mountains. And here you'll be able to find gargantuan fortresses that house incredible armies of warriors. And it is from here that the armies march forth in search of battle. Each keep will have within itself an array of gods that can be talked to and can be interacted with. If you want to learn the true edges and the true capabilities of this world's unique battle magics, then you need to interact with these gods and you need to earn their respect. But be careful, because if you insult them and they strike you down, that does not qualify as death in combat. In the resurrection that allows warriors to wander this Valhalla endlessly will not be applied to you. You will go to sleep and you will not wake up. The form of magic that this world offers you is a form of blood magic known as blood work, and it allows you to fill your blood with power drawn from both your own experiences and from the mights of your enemies that you have managed to end. It's worth noting that this form of magic is primarily used to enhance you physically. It allows you to perform stranger physical feats and more impressive physical feats, but it is a simple form of magic unless you go and attempt to master it all the way. Once you go and attempt to master it all the way, more and more blood secrets becomes known to you, and you become able to do stranger things than you could with just punching or kicking someone, or even impaling someone at the other end of your sword or spear. We are now going to look at the mystery box. If you have made it this far in the video and you do not wish to see what the mystery box offers, you can definitely click on the link to the actual Choose Your Own Adventure in the description, and you can end the video now. But before we do that, I would like to take a second to talk about what I find the most fascinating about this particular Choose Your Own Adventure. This particular Choose Your Own Adventure is a Choose Your Own Adventure in the truest sense of the word. It is true that there are choices here that matter, there are choices here that influence what you can do, and they are worth taking seriously, but once you've made the choices, the adventure is still to come. Once you've made your choices and you have your build, relatively speaking, you are able to go out and you're able to learn all sorts of awesome secrets and experience wondrous things. I definitely feel as though only having two choices is too few for this, but I can understand why it is that that is the case. I may personally wish for more keychains to be available to one person without using meta supplements and without otherwise altering the heart of the choose your own adventure, but it's still remarkable how full and how wonderful this special choose your own adventure is. I can see why this particular choose your own adventure has a jump dock. I can see why it inspired someone who, interestingly, was not the actual author of the choose your own adventure, but the actual author of the choose your own adventure is themselves a jump maker, which I think is very funny. I can see why this particular document inspired someone to the point that they wanted to go and expand on it and they wanted to go and do something like this. I think it's really neat. I strongly encourage anyone who has watched this video to this point, even if they don't go and look at the final area that you could visit, the area that costs you both of your choices, I definitely encourage people to go and check out this document and to go and support Lord themselves. I think that they deserve applauds and accolades for this. This is a work of art, and I'm very excited to have the chance to share it with my friends. But now we're going to go ahead and hop forward. Let's go ahead and talk about the final area. Welcome to the station. This is the name given to a whole galaxy filled with adventure. If you end up choosing the mystery box, the initial area that you find yourself in is a massive space station that is a central trading hub for numerous alien civilizations. You will be able to find yourself among humans and human-like beings, as well as among all sorts of alien civilizations and alien races. This is a friendly, neutral area that is itself reasonably safe. Over here, you will have a chance to catch your breath and to be able to explore in relative peace and safety. Once you go to the far section, you will go beyond the station. You will find a ship and you will be able to go to a massive and strange planetary system. For reasons that are incomprehensible to you as a human with a human understanding of physics, hundreds of planets orbit around a gargantuan central star. They all have an array of orbits which are strange, and some of which defy physics as you understand them. You can also see all sorts of bizarre phenomena if you actually go onto the planets themselves. Some of these planets are sustainable for human life, and others will require you to wear a suit. Thankfully, aliens that you meet back on your home station are friendly and are willing to trade with you so that way you can go and explore the different worlds that are out here. Once you go beyond the star system, you will find a whole galaxy that is filled with seemingly supernatural phenomena and all sorts of bizarre wonders for you to experience. You could find Dyson spheres left behind by ancient, long-dead civilizations, and you could find entire regions of space that you could survive in, being in your bare, naked body, or just being clothed like a regular human, regions that you know should not be possible. It is filled with wonders, and as you begin to explore it more fully, you will begin to understand the aliens that you've come across, whether it's their cultures, their languages, and very importantly, their technologies themselves. This setting does not offer you magic. Instead, it offers you science. This particular setting will infuse your mind, and the longer you spend in it and the braver you are and the more people and aliens you meet, you will begin to be able to understand the anomalous physics behind the inventions of alien civilizations, as well as the keys to their biologies. You will be able to eventually figure out how to create these technologies yourself, and with that kind of power at your disposal, who knows what you could be capable of. This has been the Wizard's Keychain. It is a truly wonderful choose your own adventure, and I hope that I get to hear more about your builds and more about what you would do if you were the person who saved the wizard. I definitely would like to talk about the jump dock for this particular Choose Your Own Adventure at some point in the future, but for right now, I'm content just having had the opportunity and having made the decision to introduce my friends, followers, and viewers to this special Choose Your Own Adventure. It holds a unique place in my heart and is actually one of the only Choose Your Own Adventures that I heard about and read to some extent before I became interested in the jump chain community. It is something that matters a lot to me, and I very much like the idea of going and visiting these worlds and of going on the adventures that this particular setting, grand term, offers. I hope that this has inspired you, and I hope that you yourself are excited to have a chance to go and visit this. The link to the actual Choose Your Own Adventure document is going to be in the description of the video, as always, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. There are more resources that are linked to this that I would like to talk about someday, including a document that talks about what the magic actually does, what each one of the magics actually can do at different levels of proficiency. But for right now, I'm just excited and happy that I could introduce this to other people at all. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I can't wait to see what you have to say in the comments. Bye-bye, everyone!